On today's show, why can't we have nice things? Luka Doncic, a calf strain now. Kyrie Irving misses another game. The Mavericks lose to a team that's not in the NBA. How much are we freaking out about these injuries? And more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section who should be the fifth starter. Something I'll talk about a little bit later in the show. I think we know who the fourth one is now, but let us know who do you think the fifth should be. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself with the purchase of a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50+ infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com, Jase medical.com. Isaac Harris out today. Got a real job, I guess. Got a real job, and so he wasn't able to watch this game. I decided to go ahead and do this episode after the game. What a blur. I mean, what a blur this game was. Some great stuff with Luka and Real Madrid, the 2018 championship title team getting back together, Luka getting the, little commemorative trophy, like the replica trophy. He was very happy. I've seen Luka get an award that he wasn't like that stoked about, and it was just like a plaque, like an award that you as a fan, that I as an analyst and a media member, I didn't know existed. And Luka gets this award, and he's like, hey, it's handed to him, and he's like, what is this? Why am I getting this? But Luka getting that one in Madrid with the commemorative trophy or the replica trophy, he was very happy about. So great stuff in that regard. But there's a lot to talk about. The Mavericks lose to Real Madrid. Are we concerned about it? I'm sure there are tweets. I'm sure there are posts. The Dallas Mavericks lose to a non-NBA team. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff like, LOL, the Mavericks lose to a team not in the NBA in the preseason. I'm sure there's all that. So we'll talk about that. What should we actually take from that loss? Also, Dante Exum, I thought, had a great game. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Dereck Lively had some good moments. And we heard from Mark Stein, who was over there in Spain. He was on the Bally's broadcast twice, one time successfully. And he said that the Mavericks are still looking for their fifth starter. So who is that? We'll talk about that and share a little bit more. But I want to start here. Luka Doncic was limited in this game. We learned before the game, Mark Stein reported. Mark Stein on fire with Mavericks news, by the way. We learned that Luka Doncic was going to be limited in this game to 5 minutes. Well, I'll roll it back. First, Chuck Cooperstein on The Freak said that Jason Kidd said that it was going to be like 18 to 20 minutes, that Luka will play his normal like 18 to 20 minutes that he's played in the preseason so far. And then like 5 minutes before the game started, Mark Stein says in this report that Luka is going to be limited to 5 minutes, which is more concerning. And it was because of a left calf strain. Now, the injury that Luka's had for a while now, back even going to March, February, we've been talking about this injury through FIBA World Cup. I mean, bothering him all throughout the end of last NBA season, through the FIBA World Cup, and now to today is this left calf or this left thigh strain. So thigh, calf, different parts of the leg, same leg though, different injury, same leg. Luka didn't, he hit 3 threes in this game. He ran around. He looked like he was like gingerly kind of walking on that leg. It wasn't like he's fighting through screens or doing anything too strenuous or anything like that. So he was still he's still walking, right? Like there's one part of it where he hit 3 threes. He went out there. He was able to play against his former team. Looked like he was having a good time. He desperately begged the Mavericks, according to Mark Stein, to get those 5 minutes. They were just going to hold him out entirely. And Luka was like, I'm not having that. I'm going to play in this game. And then he did. And you can go back to our episode yesterday about the things the Mavericks have done right and wrong when it comes to Luka Doncic and his career so far. But after the game, Luka was asked about it. He downplayed it, said it's nothing serious. This injury is nothing serious. And so that's what we have so far. Now the Mavericks will come back, and they won't play again until the 20th. That's Friday night against the Pistons. That's at home, so they'll come back. The Mavericks can't do anything for 3 days. And so the Mavericks will travel back. They can't do anything for 3 days once they get back. And then we won't really know anything. Mark Stein said this. We won't really know any updates until like the 16th. The 16th is a Monday, and that's when the Mavericks will come back. They'll probably do a practice or something like that, and we'll get an actual evaluation on what's going on with Luka. Is it a for sure calf strain that we're concerned about? You know, Mark Follow pointed out on the broadcast, the last time Luka had a calf strain was in the playoffs right before the playoffs 2 years ago, when he missed the beginning of it and Brunson had to step in, and he was out for 2 weeks. So the NBA season is about to start in a couple weeks. So we're right up against it when it comes to Luka. That's one thing. God. Oh my God. Okay. Then there's Kyrie, who missed the second Timberwolves game in Abu Dhabi because of left groin soreness. Now misses this game against Real Madrid. And Mark Steiner reported that the injury is kind of an indefinite thing because he's missed now 2 games, and he missed the second game. He missed this Real Madrid game because it didn't get better. Is it appropriate for me to say adios mio right now? Can I say that? Because this is very concerning. These 2 injuries are things that can nag. These injuries can last a little bit. I've already set up the doctor signal. Brian Suter is expected to come on. I'll probably have him on tomorrow night to talk about these injuries and to see what we can expect from them. So you'll have an actual medical doctor talk about it instead of me just guessing. But these things are not something that I want to mess with. As a NFL football fan with, the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow has dealt with this calf strain, and it's really messed him up. Go look at the Bengals record right now. It's not supposed to be that. He's supposed to be able to do more. He's supposed to be an MVP candidate. He is not playing like it. He was one of the worst quarterbacks through the first 4 weeks. He was very, very limited in his mobility. And so this is an injury with Luka that I am concerned about, because it also goes along with the left thigh strain that we've been dealing with and that we've been watching for and curious about, and how is he acting on it and all that. Luka says it's nothing serious. The Mavericks played him today, so I don't know. How much pressure can Luka really put on the Mavericks? A lot. Luka could put a lot of pressure on the Mavericks if he really wanted to play in a game like this. But he only played 5 minutes. It felt like the Slovenia night. Remember last year, the Slovenia night at the end of last season when Luka ended up only playing 5 minutes in that game? Man, I can't remember who they were playing against. I can hear one of you screaming at me who it was. I'll remember it in just 1 second as soon as basketball ref. Well, he played 12 minutes. My apologies. Against the Bulls. It was that game, right? Where he came in and it was Slovenia night and all that. So these 2 injuries, though, are so concerning because I've talked about this season as kind of like a gap year, in the sense that the Mavericks really they're not expected to win the title. It would be a long shot if they did win the title, right? I just don't think they have the pieces around Luka and Kyrie, and they also don't know what Luka and Kyrie are right now. We have not seen those guys play together enough or successfully enough for me to go into a season and say, oh yeah, by the time the playoffs come around, I'm in. They'll figure it out. It'll be great. They'll win. They can win a couple. They're expected to win the first round series and all that. So they're not expected to win the title, but they've got to build the foundation. They've got to figure out what Luka and Kyrie are, and they've got to figure out who of these guys, Dereck Lively, Grant Williams, Josh Green, Omax, who of these guys can help right now? Who of these guys can be in a potential title run next year or the year after that? And if they lose Luka and Kyrie to start the season, it just pushes that back even further to figure out what these guys are together, to figure out what works around them. On this podcast, sometimes we sugarcoat things. I'm taking the sugar out of the bag. I'm sprinkling it. This is my one sprinkle. The Mavericks role players do need some time to figure out how to play without Luka and Kyrie. I think they need some confidence too. I like seeing Exum. I like seeing Tim Hardaway do some stuff. They need to figure out how to do some offense without those 2 guys, because they're going to miss games during the season too. And the Mavericks can't go 0-8 or 0-10 like they did last year without Luka to start the season. They've got to win some of those games too. So if you're going to take any positive out of this at all, if Luka and Kyrie do miss time, seems like Luka is more likely than Kyrie, but Kyrie just missed 2 games and Luka played today. So I don't really know. If you're going to take any positive out of it, it's, all right, well, at least these guys will get some time, and the Mavericks will be able to figure out and expedite being able to figure out who of these role players around them can actually get some stuff done and actually play. Coming up, let's talk about this game, though. Mavericks lose to Real Madrid. Oh, Oh, so embarrassing. So embarrassing for them to lose to this non-NBA team. I'll tell you why that's kind of bogus, and I'll tell you what I thought about this game and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Jase Medical, Jase Medical. They have this thing called the Jase case. I've got one right here. Little antibiotic ASMR. Is that what the A stands for? You can get a Jase case that has 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. They also have a booklet in there that tells you what to take these all for, to tell you how to, what to take and all that. So you know that you have this taken care of and you know that you're taking things for the right reasons and all that. They've also got their board certified medical physicians that you can give, get some ongoing care on any treatment related questions. These are doctor created, doctor recommended. Go to jasemedical.com and get $20 off with the promo code LOCKEDON, JASE Medical.com, and see how you can get your Jase case today. Go ahead. Again, jasemedical.com, promo code LOCKEDON, all one word, LOCKEDON. Check it out today.
My first shot, my first make.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us. I was sending messages all throughout the game. I'll send you game day alerts. I'll do a watch back where I'll watch back part of a quarter or a stretch from the game, and I'll point out stuff, and I'll do a little mini film room and also point out some funny stuff. And what my reaction to some of these moments was, you can subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description. Text the number that was just on the screen. All right, Isaac, let's get into this game. So the Mavericks do lose this game. They lose 127 to 123. And we got a look at a lot of guys, everybody except for Kyrie, obviously, Markieff Morris, Mike Miles Jr., who's still not played, by the way, and Greg Brown played in this game. We saw pretty much everybody get in on this game. The Mavericks started a different starting lineup than what we've seen in the past. Luka started. He played his 5 minutes. Grant Williams started again. He's part of the big group with Luka and Kyrie. Dereck Lively started again. He started every game so far. He played 20 minutes. And then Dante Exum and Derrick Jones Jr. got the start, which continues Jason Kidd's thing of experimenting, trying new lineups, trying to see what works, looking to see what happened. That's why I don't put so much stock in Omax starting in the first game of the preseason, which is why 2 days ago, Isaac and I were talking about who's in the rotation and who's not, and I'm not convinced that Omax is. And Isaac's like, he has to play. Now, maybe Isaac's personal feelings towards Omax, his personal friendship, fatherly feelings about Omax and the real estate he has on his island has influenced him in that way. But I don't think that Omax starting the first game of preseason lends any credence to Omax being part of the rotation. Dereck Lively, though, starting every game of preseason so far, and then Mark Stein's report today that he is likely the starter at the time of the season. I'm going to buy into that. I'm going to buy into that one because I think that one's pretty set. It seems like it's good, which is great. I'm excited for Lively. I'm excited to see. I love watching him play. I love to see him on defense. It's one of the things I always point out on the watch back. So subscribe to the subtext if you want to see more of that kind of stuff. But we saw this new lineup and we saw these guys go out there, and Real Madrid just came out firing threes. I mean, this is sort of my takeaway is that Real Madrid's got good players. We knew this. You and I have watched FIBA, we've watched Eurobasket, we've watched the Olympics we've watched Slovenia, we've watched Australia, we've watched these teams, and you've heard of all these guys if you've followed us and watched all these. John Musa was on the Nets not that long ago. Gershon Yabusele was the guy that slammed Dante Exum to the ground in that the EuroLeague final game. Eddie Tavares we just saw in FIBA. Sergio Yul was the guard that played next to Luka for a long time with Real Madrid. He was awesome today, had 5 threes. Facu Campazzo was on the Mavericks last year. Rudy Fernandez was on France for a long time. Vincent Poirier was on France in the FIBA World Cup. Sergio Rodriguez, we've seen in the NBA. Mario Hezonja. We've seen all these guys in the NBA. This is not a bad basketball team. These guys have played together. They're one of the best. I think Followell and somebody else on the broadcast said this is the 31st best basketball team in the world, right? It's the NBA, it's all the NBA teams and then them. And so if you're looking at this game and you're like, I'm so frustrated. Why did the Mavericks lose this game? So the Mavericks played their starters and then and the Mavericks played their starters to start. They played their regular rotation like they've been doing in preseason. Coming out in the first quarter, Real Madrid came out 8 of 9 from 3 to start the game. just bombing from deep. Sergio Yul hit 3. Rudy Fernandez came in off the bench and hit 2. Campazzo hit 1. Johnny Musa hit 1. Hezonja came in and hit 1. Like everybody was hitting threes for them. They were just launching, and it wasn't even bad Mavericks defense for the most part. There were some that were just deep and wide and long and and tall threes that they were hitting. Just good basketball, good ball movement from them, getting those shots and just being really hot. The Mavericks, by the way, hit 7 of their 15 in the first quarter, so they were hitting a bunch of threes as well, but couldn't match what Real Madrid did. And then throughout the game, the Mavericks ended up finding a way in the second half. They really went on a run towards the end of the second half into the third quarter, went on a run, built up like a 14-point lead. And then at the fourth quarter, all they played was, here's the guys that played in the fourth quarter. All right, I'm going to read it because I don't want to hear it. Omax played all 12 minutes. Jaden Hardy played 9 minutes. You had Dexter Dennis. Dante Exum played about 5. Lively played 4 minutes. Rashawn Holmes played 8. AJ Lawson, and then Jelly Walker and Joe Wieskamp were in there to end the game. Jason Kidd just threw out the Exhibit 10 guys at the end. And so, yes, the Maverick actual players built up a lead, and then the Mavericks Exhibit 10 guys lost it at the end. That's it. I mean, that's the game. That's how they lost this game, basically. Because in the fourth quarter, it was Rudy Fernandez played the whole time. You had Sergio Rodriguez played a bunch. Vincent Poirier is a huge center that played a bunch. Eddie Tavares played a little. Gershon Yabusele played 8 minutes in that quarter. Campazzo played 7. Like they played their regular guys. Besides Sergio Yul, they played their starters in the fourth quarter. And so it was Real Madrid starters versus Mavericks players that aren't going to make the team. So I'm not worried. I'm not really worried about the result of this game. I am worried though about the Mavericks defense in this game. I have not seen a ton of things from this game and from the Timberwolves game that shows me defense is going to be better. I think what we've seen from Lively has been good. He had 2 blocks in this game. He had 6 rebounds in this game. He played 20 minutes. I think some of the stuff we've seen from Dante Exum has been good to add to what the Mavericks had last year, which was a bad defense. So those guys were adding to it. Grant Williams, I think, has been fine. He had 9 rebounds in this game, 2 blocks. He can block stuff at the rim that you just don't expect him to get to because he's not the biggest, longest guy. So I think there's a couple good things we can take from it, but scheme-wise, the Mavericks being a better, more cohesive team, I didn't see it in this one. And I haven't seen it in the Timberwolves games either, and that's something I'm watching for. Are they going to be better as a team? They've added a couple pieces, so, their physical tools as a team are better. But is their scheme? Are they better together? Are they more connected? And I don't know that I've seen that so far. And that's what concerns me. It's not just Real Madrid getting really hot from 3. It's not the Exhibit 10 guys losing to the Real Madrid starters at the end. I'm concerned about not seeing a cohesive defense, not seeing guys look like they're better. And it's going to take time. It took time for the team 2 years ago that went to the Western Conference Finals. It took them a little while to figure out the defense, to get good, and to get to where they wanted to be. And then you can be connected, and then you really can put I almost said pedal to the metal. It really doesn't make sense for defense. Then you can put the nail, I don't know. Then you can head to toe it, and then you can know that you're better. So the defense is something that I am concerned about against a team like this. It kind of felt like an exhibition game. They were throwing up threes, felt like an all-star game at times. They're throwing up threes, but still, they did try. The Mavericks did try, and I want to see a more cohesive defense in another game. But coming up, let's talk about Dante Exum, who was a bright spot in this game. Started, had 13 points, 9 assists, 2 blocks, and I think he's got a spot in the rotation. So coming up, let's talk about him and who's the 5th starter on this Mavericks team. Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel has you covered for the NFL, for NBA. It's right around the corner, guys. It's coming. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets. Let's look at some odds. We haven't looked at this in a while. They've got games coming up. I guess they're regular season games or preseason. Have the Mavericks odds changed any of these? They've got Mavs versus Spurs, game 1 of the season for the Mavericks. Mavs are a 5.5 point favorite on the road against Wembanyama. So you can go check out that game. That's the first game of the Mavericks season. That's on FanDuel. They've got conference and division. They've got awards. They've got regular season wins still up. They've got to make the playoffs. What are the Mavericks to make the playoffs? Minus 215 to make the playoffs. So if you bet $100, you could win you have to bet $215 to win $100 for the Mavericks to make the playoffs. If you think they're not going to make it, if you're one of those in the comment section right now that's saying this Mavericks team is terrible, they're awful, they'll never make the playoffs, go put down like $100 on them to not win, and you'll win 162 if they miss the playoffs. Again, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Check it out today.
I don't always tell you guys the truth.
All right, Isaac, let's talk about the things in this game that stood out. Let's talk about some good things. Oh my gosh. Between injuries and them losing this game and all that, let's talk about some good things. Dante Exum, I thought was great in this game. I've got real estate. I've got a room booked in the Exum estate. The Exum Island, the Exum estate. Because I think Dante Exum's going to be good on this team. I think he brings something that they desperately need. A bigger defender that can handle the ball, that can create stuff for others. They need somebody like that. Because as soon as Luka goes out after his first 5 minutes. Luka goes out, no Kyrie again. And it's like Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway, Grant Williams, Lively, and then I think Exum was still in there. Or even when it was Josh Green, when Exum wasn't. And you're like, where is the offense coming from? And all of a sudden, like a light goes off in your head and you go, hold on, well, what if Luka and Kyrie miss a game? Or one of them misses a game and then they have to sit during the game? What happens then? And you're just running dribble handoffs with Tim Hardaway that had some pretty good success. Tim had 21 points and shot 8 of 19 from the field. You're running Seth Curry kind of pick and rolls, and those had some success here and there. You're running Josh Green dribble handoffs and some pick and roll and some stuff like that. And you're like, okay. And then Dante Exum comes in. You go, okay, this is a guy that out of the post up, out of some of those other actions that we mentioned, he can run all those other actions I just mentioned with those other guys, plus the post ups, plus he can drive and get to the rim himself. 13 points, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks, only 1 turnover, 9 assists and 1 turnover. Just the way the Mavericks want to play. They were really low in turnovers the last couple of years. That's something that's made them successful. Dante Exum fulfilled that today. He just does something that no one else does. And I think he's more ready. He's 28. He's older than a Hardy. He's older than an Omax. He's older than some of these other guys that are going to come in and want to play those minutes. And then they're going to need a Dante Exum, I think. And I think he should be part of the rotation. I think he should be one of the first, maybe one of the first off the bench. Because it can't just be Tim and Seth coming in at the same time. It's this logjam that I've been talking about all summer. They need some guys to do other things besides what Tim and Seth both bring. They bring the same thing. There's a redundancy there. And Hardy's kind of the same with those guys. And we haven't really seen Hardy take that leap forward. I didn't expect the Hardy leap to come this year. I expected it next year. That's what we've seen from the Tyler Heroes, the Tyrese Maxeys, the Jordan Pooles, the Anthony Simons. That it happens in their like 22-year-old year or their third year in the NBA. And so I expect Jaden Hardy to take that leap if he's going to in his third year. I didn't expect it this year. So for now, I think Dante Exum, I wouldn't say he should be the 5th starter. Maybe they think about it. But he's definitely got to be in the rotation to be a ball handler, to be that guy so that we no longer, we once and for all can retire.
People forget about Frank.
Because now it's people forget about Exum. And they shouldn't forget about him because I think he showed some good things, was good today, and I think they should keep pushing him forward. Going on. I think he should be part of the rotation, and I think he should be a priority, even over Jaden Hardy, to me, because they got to win games. As much as you want to develop Jaden Hardy, yes, but you've got to win games right now. You've got to figure out who's a real piece around you, around Luka and Kyrie. And Dante Exum, I think, can get it done. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Lively played 20 minutes. He had 5 fouls. He picked up 3 of them in 1 minute and 20 seconds. It was just some bad sequences. In the third quarter, he's playing with some backups. He started the third quarter with Grant Williams, Derrick Jones Jr., Seth Curry, and Dante Exum. And then from the 10-minute mark to the 8-minute and 40-second mark, he picked up 3 fouls. And that ended up being his 5th foul. And then he never got a foul the rest of the game, by the way. But he picked up those quick fouls. One of the things that the Mavericks are going to struggle with, the Mavericks defense will give Dereck Lively a lot of opportunity. They'll give him opportunity to defend stuff at the rim, to try and come over and help block, to try and come over and help on some guys driving to the rim. He's going to get a lot of opportunities because the Mavericks defenders are still going to get blown by. And in the NBA, it happens all the time. Even good defenders, guys can drive right by them because the rules have made it so You can't play the defense that they played in the 90s and the 2000s and all that. And so Lively's going to get a lot of opportunity. Plus, he's very athletic and he can jump real high. I don't know if you've noticed, Lively can jump out of the gym. You've seen it on the lobs, but on defense too. So he can catch up to a lot of shots and he can catch up to a lot of plays. But how many should he? He's got to pick his spots, got to know when it's effective for him to do so or not. And he's got to pick his spots in that way. And I think it comes with maturing. He's 19. He's his first year. I'm going to do that so many times this year. You're going to get sick of me saying he's 19. It's his first year in the league. He was a one and done. He didn't play that much at Duke. Like, he's inexperienced. But the guy's good, man. He brings the stuff the Mavericks really want. He had 5 fouls, but he had 2 blocks. He had a steal. He had 2 assists off of dribble handoffs to Tim, and I think they were both to Tim. He also had a play that I was just checking out right before I started recording, where Exum has the ball. I have the play right here. Exum has the ball. Lively comes and sets a screen to the left. Exum goes to his left. Then Lively dives to the rim, and then Exum throws him up the ball, and Lively keeps it up high. Defender comes and meets Lively, and so Lively doesn't have a play at the rim. He can't give it back to Exum. The shooters are all kind of covered where he can see it. And Lively keeps it high in the air and throws it over the top of Musa, who's the defender for for Real Madrid, right to Derrick Jones Jr. It gets an open 3. Like, just that kind of play. I know it's maybe hard to understand, but basically a pass out of a short roll is what Lively did. But to keep it high, to pass it out, to have the vision, to find the shooter that was open when the other 2 were not, to get that pass out. We've seen some of that from Lively, and that's huge stuff, man. Think about when Luka and Kyrie are, knock on wood, are hopefully finally healthy and together, and they're getting double teamed. And somebody's got to come break that trap. And it can't always be the other one. It can't always be Luka breaking the trap for Kyrie and Kyrie breaking the trap for Luka. But when that happens, Lively comes to the free throw line or half court or wherever, and him being the one to make the pass. That player has got to be a good decision maker. And we've seen some success with Dwight Powell being that in the past, and he's become that kind of guy. But if Lively can be that, and then he can roll the way that he can, and eventually step backwards and take a 3, the future is bright. I got to put the shades on. I got to put the shady rays on because the future is bright for a guy like Lively. He showed some good stuff. He was also playing against Eddie Tavares and Vincent Poirier, who are like savvy veterans, been there, done that, played a ton of basketball. Not the easiest thing to do. I know we keep doing that with him. Like, oh, he's playing against Rudy Gobert. Oh, he's playing against these guys in Real Madrid. It's true. He's playing against experienced guys. I watched the Wembanyama versus the Chet home. Do you watch that? The Chet versus Wembanyama. Those guys, they're different. And I'm so curious to see how Lively guards those guys. The thing with Wembanyama is that he doesn't play the 5 necessarily. He doesn't play the center. They got Zach Collins out there with him. Chet does play the 5, but Wembanyama doesn't. So you didn't see a lot of like Chet guarding Wembanyama one-on-one. So I'm curious how the Mavericks handle that. Did they put Grant Williams on Victor Wembanyama? Did they put Dereck Lively on him? They probably put Lively on Zach Collins in that instance, but yeah, it'll be interesting. So that's what I saw from Dereck Lively in this game. Again, great stuff. 6 rebounds, 2 on the offensive end. He's big. He can the passes are great. He finished a couple of lobs. He got an and 1 at the rim, finishing strong. Oh, Suns fans watching DeAndre Ayton not finish strong for years would just complain about that. And to see Dereck Lively finish some plays strong is like, okay, I feel good about that. We don't have to complain about that thing that they always complained about Ayton with. Anything else from this game? Grant Williams hit a couple of threes. He had 9 rebounds, 4 assists in this one. I like Grant Williams' game. I think he's going to be a Mavs fan favorite soon this season. I'm excited to see what else he can bring. Derrick Jones Jr. had some good athletic plays. I think he's going to be a good player to come in spots, but I don't know if that he has a role, even though we saw him in some time with the starters today. But what stood out to me was Dante Exum, what Dereck Lively can do. We saw Omax have a couple positive plays. Still looks far away. Let's wait. Let's wait, honestly, a couple months. Let's wait some months before we decide on Omax. I've seen some people already do he can't play. He's G League fodder. Like, he can't play. All right, let's calm down. Let's wait a little bit on him and see. Some rookies you can tell right away. It's one of those like summer league things where in summer league, if a guy can't play or if a guy doesn't shoot well, like Trae Young. Trae Young came into summer league and shot terribly. You're like, okay, well, does he suck? But if he comes in and you look awesome in summer league, that doesn't always mean that you're good. So it's like one of those you can't really tell either way. You've got to give it some time. So let's give Omac some time on here. There you go. Let me know in the comment section who should be the 5th starter, because it doesn't sound like they've decided, according to Mark Stein, that the Mavericks don't know who the 5th starter is yet. Dante Exum made a case. I think it's still Josh Green. And yeah, it could be Tim Hardaway, I guess, too. But let me know in the comment section who you think it should be. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Isaac and I will be back together talking more Mavericks. Hopefully I'll have Brian Suterer on from his great YouTube channel. And guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.